Hello guys, welcome back. In this video, let us analyze a real-time use case scenario of Databricks platform. So let's take a scenario. That is, let's say I have a website, or you can say I am maintaining some web portal, and that portal is getting some feedback, right? Yes, I'm collecting the feedback about my portal from users regarding the content in the website or portal, and I have written an efficient code to take the content and store it in a file in the form of CSV format. Whenever a customer enters into my website and they submitted a feed, then that feedback will be stored into my CSV formatted file. For this demo, I've already created one CSV feedback file, that is a customer feedback file in the form of CSV format. Now you can see 5 feedbacks are there. And I don't want to read whole content and analyze whole content. I just want to summarize this whole content. So in order to summarize my whole content, if we do it manually, then it might take some time. To make it easy, I want to use Databricks platform in order to store this file and analyze, or you can say I want to summarize the content present in it, right? Yes. So to do that task, I want to use this Databricks platform. So first let us store that. So in order to store, you have this catalog. You have this catalog option is there under your Databricks. Inside that you can see DBFS, that is a Databricks file system. Previously already I have stored this file in order to first verify that whether I can able to analyze or not. No, first I am deleting this. Yeah, I am deleting this file, that is a CSV feedback file that I have previously uploaded. I'll just reload this page. And one more thing, that previously I do not have this DBFS option. This DBFS option is not present here previously. How do I get this? So in order to get this, you need to enable this option under settings. So where to enable the option under settings to see this icon. So in order to enable the option, you can see, open your account and go to settings. There you can see the option that is advanced. There you can see this DBFS file browser. Now currently it is in enable state. I am disabling it. So whenever you disable, in your, I think you need to reload the page to save these changes. Yeah, it's currently is in disabled state. Now let's see under catalog. Yeah, you can see there is no option of DBFS. Now I'm enabling here. Then only your DBFS browser will be visible to you. Now again I'm reloading the page. Now I'll open catalog. There you can see DBFS, that is your Databricks file system. File storage will be visible to you, right? Yes. For this demo, in order to summarize this customer feedback.csv file, I'm just renaming it like a demo. Yeah, customer feedback demo.csv file. So whatever the content present in it, I want to summarize it. So in order to summarize it, first I want to upload this to this location. So that's why I'm clicking on upload. And there, yeah, I'm opening my, I'm just dragging and dropping the same file to here. Yeah, I just uploaded the file and you can see that file got present here. Now I want to use this file in order to summarize the content present in it. So for that, I'm just copying the path. You can see here, this path is there, that is a file system, yeah, file store / table / your file name. I'm just copying this, just closing this. Now I want to create a notebook, or you can say I want to create a notebook inside this workspace in order to analyze that. So for that, I've previously created this notebook for my reference. Now I'll create a new notebook for you. So that's why I'm clicking on create and I'm choosing a notebook, so that it will create me a new notebook. Here you can able to write your code, and you can able to analyze the content present in your catalog file. That is, so inside this catalog you have that file, right? Okay, inside this catalog dbfs, you have already uploaded this demo file. Now I want to use that in order to analyze that by using the workspace that I am just created, that is this. I'm just opening it. Currently there is no content in it. First I want to rename this to identify this particular notebook among multiple. Since this notebook I am using for analyzing or summarizing the content, so for that I am providing the name like this, and at last I'm providing the name as demo. So in order to summarize my content, I'm using open source model, that is a Hugging Face open source model is there. I'm using that. So first, in order to use any model, or in order to use any model to summarize my content, first we need to install the required dependencies. So in order to import my model, I need a transformers library as well as torch library as well. Here you can write the command, that is a percentile pip install transformers and what I want torch. So that those two libraries names you can write here. Then you can able to run this, so that these libraries will be installed. Currently there is no resource available, so that's why I'm clicking on create new resource. Let's say this is a cluster resource, so that's why I'm providing the name like project demo cluster 1, and just clicking on create, attach and run. So whenever I click on it, then obviously inside my compute, that compute resource will be created, and then after our resource got created successfully, I just want to remove the another one. Yeah, I'm removing the previous cluster. Now the cluster is creating. After the cluster got created successfully, this whatever the statement that we provided here, that command will be executed, and the required libraries like transformers as well as torch will be installed here. You might have a question, why do I need these two? These two are requirements for me in order to use any open source model. Currently I want to use Hugging Face model. So for those, these are the dependencies I want to install previously in order to use any, or you can say open source Hugging Face model. So that's why I'm installing these two. I'm using those inside my code. You can see we encountered an error, that is we did not provide a space between percentile and pip. So now I'm just clicking on run button, so that again these dependencies will be installed at first. You can see the dependencies are installing. Not just identifying the feedback summary will also identify sentiment analysis as well. Sentimental analysis with this project. Okay, now we install the required dependencies, like we installed the transformers, a torch, and we need to, for sentiment analysis, we need to install text blob, text blob also. So that's why I'm installing it again. So let's wait till these dependencies got installed. Now you can see all the dependencies got installed successfully. So what are my two tasks? I want to summarize my text, or you can say customer feedback. This is my first task. And what is the another task? The another task that I want to do is I want to analyze sentiment. I want to do sentimental analysis. That is whether the customer is providing positive feedback or negative feedback or neutral type feedback, that I want to identify. Now let's do this task. That is let's summarize my customers feedback. So in order to summarize my customers feedback, I need a model. I need a open source model to do this. So for that, which model I'm using? I'm using a Hugging Face. I'm using Hugging Face models. So for that, first I'm importing a pipeline from transformers. This transformer is related to Hugging Face model. From transformers, what I'm importing? I'm importing pipeline. Then here I'm creating a summarizer, and I'm defining the summarizer by using the pipeline. I'm specifying this as summarizer. And if you have any requirement of choosing particular model, then you can able to provide particular model. Currently I want to use Facebook bot Facebook model, or let's say if you don't have any preference, then you can continue with this, so that a default model will be taken to summarize your pipeline. I think the pipeline spelling was wrong. Yeah, I'm just rerunning it again. So what's the error is? Yeah, we might provided a wrong spelling of summarizer. It's a summarization. It's not summarizer. Now I'm just rerunning it, so that my summarizer will create right now with what are the default configurations. You can see currently which model it is using. It is using this bot CNN model it is using. You can even define that model here. You can see the famous models which are using daily life are these. That is this bird model from Facebook, and T5 small or T5 base is using, and Google model, that is a Pegasus large, are using. If you have any requirement to use a particular model, then you can even define that here. So within double quotes, by default also this Facebook model is picking. You can see that is picking, and here also I'm specifying the model here. Now I'm just rerunning this, so that my summarizer just now creates. After the summarizer got created successfully, now so currently it's creating. Now you can see summarizer got created successfully. I want to define a function, so that whenever I send the feedback to that function need to send me a summarized text. So that's why I'm defining a function that is summarize feedback. And here what I'll send feedback to this function. Then what it needs to respond to me, then what it needs to return to me, it need to return me the summarized text. So how can I able to summarize the text? By using this summarizer, I can able to summarize this feedback. So I'm using that summarizer of, I'm providing the feedback. So what are the feedback that is getting to this function I'm passing? And what is the max length of output or min length of output? Now I'm defining max length. That is a max length of output, that is summarized text. Let's say my max length of summarized text contains only 10 words, and min length of my summarized text contain only 3 let's take 5. And do you want to sample? No. Do sample. Currently I'm providing false because I don't want any sampling here. Yeah, just I'm running it. If there will be any errors, then it will show me. Okay, we created a summarize feedback function where if I send any feedback to this function, then it obviously returns me a summarized context. Okay, now I want to, now my summarization function is ready. So in order to summarize the whatever the provided feed, it will summarize. What I want now, I want to read the file. I have uploaded a file in this catalog, right? In this catalog, in this DBFS, I have uploaded a file that is that file is this customer feedback demo. I'm copying the file path, that is this. Now I want to use it to read this CSV file. To read this CSV file here, I'm writing the code that is spark.read.csv. So remember this command, spark.read.csv. In order to read any CSV file, you can use this. Then you need to provide the path. Here, you don't even need to specify DBFS, directly provide the path from your root directory. Under that, inside my file store, this is the path that I have just copied, and this is the path, right, I just provided. Then you need to tell whether there is a header present in your file. My first line is a header, so that's why I'm providing header is equal to true. And you also need to tell, do you want to infer any schema? No, I don't want to infer the schema and save it in somewhere. So that's why I'm providing infer schema as false. Now I'm storing this data as a data frame in feedback df variable. So in order to store whatever the readed file into a variable, so that's why I'm using this variable, that is a feedback df, to store the data that I'm reading from this file. After reading the file, I want to display the content or see the content which is present in this data frame. So that's why I'm writing a feedback display function to see the result, and I'm running it to read the file and see the content which is present in it. You can see this is the content actually present in our CSV file. Now we are successfully reading the file which is present in this data catalog. So where is this? Yeah, here. Yeah, here under the data catalog DBFS file system. So in this table, this file we are reading and the content we are seeing, that is this, which is present inside that file. Okay. Now we successfully able to read the content which is present in the file. Then what is the need? Then what is the next step? The next step is I want to send each and every row to this function to get the summarized data. In order to send this whole data, that is a one by one row data to this function and get the feed, that is summarized content, first I need to pick one by one row, right? Yes. So for that, I'm creating one more code cell here. Now first I want to collect the each row in this data frame. So for that, we have, I'm using this feedback data frame dot collect function in order to collect each and every row. You can just print it so that you can able to see whether we can able to get the, whether we can able to collect the rows or not. You can see this is one row up to here, and we're getting the output in the form of, in the form of a list of rows, right? Yes. So if you use this collect function, then you can able to get your rows individually. You can see in the form of a list of rows will get. And in this list of rows, in this feedback text, actually my text is there. This I need to send, right? Yes. So now let's do that. So for that, first since this is a list of rows, I want to pick one by one row. So for that, I'm using a for loop for each row in this feedback data frame dot collect. Here I'm taking each row. So let's print each and every row in separate line and see that result. I'm commenting this line. Now I can able to get each and every row got printed here. So in this row, what I want actually, I want this feedback text only. So that's why I'm just copying this and I'm using a row dot that feedback text because I want this content only, right? So that's why I'm taking that. You can see the row data, that is each row feedback text will be printed. Only that feedback text will be printed. Now we extracted each row feedback text. I want to save this inside one variable. Like I want to save this inside one variable. So that's why I'm using inside feedback underscore text. Let's say I'm writing the name like feedback text. Inside this feedback text variable, I'm storing that data. Now I want to pass each and every row to the above function. That is this, whatever the summarize feedback function that I have previously created. To that function, I want to pass each and every time this feedback text and I want to summarize that text and get the result. So for that, I'm using this function name, that is summarize feedback. And here I'm using that and passing this variable. What is that? Feedback variable. So feedback text variable. So inside that feedback text only my actually row data is stored. Now I am printing the summarized content which is getting as output from this function. So whenever I pass this feedback text to this function, this will provide me obviously some response that I am printing. So in order to identify one and one, that is separate responses, I have printed this. And now I'm running this. So to see how many responses I got, currently 5 rows are there. Do I got 5 responses? One response I got. Second, third, fourth, and one more left. Yeah, we got the corresponding output. That is, we got our summarized text response. You can see this is the whole text that we have passed and so on is there. For that, you can see a summarized text we have generated from by using what? By using this function. What this function is using to generate the summarized text by taking the input, this feedback. It uses this summarizer. So what is this summarizer? This summarizer is nothing but whatever the pipeline that we created for the open source Hugging Face model summarization. We have even specified this Facebook BERT model. This model actually summarizing our content. This content we are passing to that model through this function and we're getting the response, and we are even specifying the max length and min length of our summarized text, and that we are printing here. So in this way actually you can able to summarize your text. Now let's say I want to store, let's say I want to represent this whole summarized text in the form of data frame. So in order to represent that in the form of a data frame, first I want to pick only this response. I don't want this whole dictionary or list of dictionary response. So in order to pick, you can see what response we are getting. We are getting the list response. So in this list, what is this? This is the first element, that is a dictionary. In order to pick this dictionary, I'm using a 0. I'm using slicing operation to get only the first element. In this element also, this is the dictionary right now. You can see we got, this is the dictionary value. Or you can run it so that you only get the dictionary. You won't get the list of response. You can see only you're getting the dictionary. Now in this dictionary, what I want to get only this response, that is this summarized text. I don't want this dictionary format, so that's why I'm using get function, and I'm getting the content corresponding to this summary text, that is this we got as the response right now. You can say I'm running it again. Now you can see we are just getting the summarized content, right? Yes, we're getting the summarized content. Now what I want to store this summarized text for this particular ID, for this particular customer ID, or you can say for this feedback ID. For corresponding feedback ID, I want to store this corresponding summarized text in a data frame, in particular variable. To see the result, I want to store these all inside a variable. For that, I am creating a list like a summary, and inside this summary, I am storing each and every responses, that is a summary dot append function I'm using. Since it's a list, I need to use append function in order to put the response, or in order to put some content into this list. Now at last, if you print this, that is if you print this list at the end after this for loop got completed, then you can able to see whole responses in the form of a list. You can say I'm running it, so that you can get all responses, all summaries in a list. Then I'll use this list in order to create my data frame. You can see I'm getting all the summaries in the form of a list. Now I want to use this list to create my data frame, to store it in the form of a data frame. To see this result in a visualizable manner in the same format of this, that is in this format, what I want to create a data frame. For that, I'm using the function that is create data frame spark dot create. You can see I'm getting the hint, but I'll type data frame of. So for what you are creating the data frame, where your list of content is present. Currently in this summary variable, my list of content is present. So that's why I'm copying this. For this variable, I'm creating the data frame. And what are the headers? What are the headers? Those you need to provide here. I'm creating a headers variable, and there I'll define the headers like so one header is let's took the customer ID as one header, and the summary, right? Feedback summary as one more header. And in this customer ID place, I want to store the particular customer ID. In the feedback summary, I want to store the summary which is coming from this feedback. So that's why I'm choosing this header here. If you run this, then you might get error, because in this summary, what is the data you have? You only have this summary, feedback summary. But in the headers, what you're defining, I want customer ID as well as feedback summary. So in order to get a customer ID as well, in order to store that customer ID as well in this summary, I'm choosing a tuple here to store that. And in this, I'm storing two things. One is summary and one is customer ID. How do I get the customer ID? So in order to get the customer ID, you can write a row dot. You can provide the same name, that is a customer ID. What's the name? It will be, that is this customer ID. So exactly the same name you need to provide. If you provide the wrong name, you might get errors. Now I'm just rerunning it to see a list of tuples, where each tuple contain the customer ID as well as their feedback summary. You can see the customer ID is there as well as their feedback summary is there. Now I am using this list, that is summary list, in order to create a data frame. You can say I provided this as the header and this summary I'm using, and I'm creating a data frame and I'm storing it in one more variable, that is resdf. I'm assuming this resdf to store my result data frame, and I'm displaying the result to see how I'm getting the result. And then I'm running it again. What I'm expecting is I want to get customer ID as well as a feedback summary. You can see I'm getting the customer ID as well as the feedback summary. Okay. Now what I want? At last, I want to do sentiment analysis as well for this feedback summary. In order to do this sentimental analysis, you need to use text blob. What is the text blob? You can re-verify that you have installed the text blob or not. You can see we have already installed that text blob. Now I'm using that text blob in order to analyze the sentiment. Basically, the sentiment will be in three formats, that is either it may be neutral, positive or negative. If you use this text blob, first I want to import this text blob, so that's why I'm writing from text blob. I'll import text blob, and you can use this text blob function, and you can pass some text to it, and you can able to identify the sentiment polarity. Sentiment dot polarity. So based on the polarity, you can able to say that how the text will be. Let's say if I pass the first text, I'm just printing the data here and storing text or providing the text like this. The app has some more features like that. I'm providing that text. And I'm just running it to see how the response I'm getting. You can see sentiment object is not attribute. Yeah, it's a polarity. Now you can see what we're getting 0.5. So based on the value, floating point value that you get, based on that, you can able to say that how the response or how the text will be. This text belongs to 0.5. That means it will be present in between these two. That means it's a positive sentiment. By using this text blob, you can able to analyze the sentiment by using the polarity. The polarity will be this, that is the polarity will be either present in between -1 to 0 or 0 or 0 to 1. If you got 0 as a response, then it's a neutral sentiment. If you got a positive response, that is in between 0 to 1, it's a positive sentiment. If you got the response polarity in between 0 to -1, that sentiment is a negative sentiment. Now what I want to send all these feedback summaries to this function or to this text blob, and I need to get the polarity to identify the sentiment, right? Yes. So in order to do that, I'm creating it as a function like a sentimental analysis function I'm creating, and I'm passing text to this, and whenever I got the text to this function, what I'm doing is I'm just returning the response, that is a text blob of that text I'm passing and returning the polarity response, right? Yes. So let's test it by providing some text to it in the next cell, that is here. I'm printing the response that I'm getting from this sentiment analysis, and I'm passing the text, that is this. You can say I'm passing this text, and I want to check the response, whether this function is working or not. I think we have done some syntax error. So what's the mistake was? Error while string. Yeah, here we forgot to close this. Yeah, we got the response as 0.5, right? Yes. Let's customize it some more better so that we can able to understood so what type of sentiment it is. That is let's store this data in some variable, that is res, and let's provide the response like if res is present in between 0.02 1 point minus 1.0, that is 0.02 minus 1.0, then what is my sentiment? My sentiment is a negative, right? Negative sentiment. I'm just copying it and I want to return this as a response, or else or else if my result is if my result is 0.0, then I want to return what is my sentiment? It's a neutral sentiment, so that's why I'm copying this and provide this as a direct response. Or else obviously other case is that this is a positive sentiment. I'm just copying this. Now I'm returning that response. Okay, now let's rerun this so that this function configuration saved. Now let's rerun this to see. You can see now we're getting the positive sentiment as a response. Since this is a positive sentiment, we got positive sentiment as a response. Let's provide some more question, that is this app is not good. So like that, let's provide some negative sentiment, negative data as well. This app is not good. And let's see the sentiment analysis. Why I am getting a wrong response? I think we might configure wrongly here. Yeah, the result is in between -1 to 0. Then we might need to get negative sentiment as the response. I'm just rerunning this so that this got saved here. And let's say the app is less working. Let's provide the correct response. That is the app has some more features. Yeah, positive sentiments. That good. The app has some less features. Let's provide like that as the question. Yeah, you can see we're getting a negative sentence. This is a negative sentence. So that's why we're getting the response like it's a negative sentence, negative sentiment. Now this is working well. That is, it is analyzing correctly the sentiment of the text. If we provide the positive text, it is identifying the positive text, and if we providing the negative text, it is identifying the negative text. Now I want to transform the available data frame, that is this result data frame, to that is I want to add one more column here. So in order to add one more column, we need to register the data frame at first. I want to register this function. So for that's why I'm first importing that UDF, user data frame, from spark dot SQL, from spark dot SQL dot functions. So from this spark dot SQL dot functions, I'm importing this UDF. So by using this UDF, I can able to register this sentiment analysis function. After registering the sentiment analysis function, I can able to use that in order to modify my data frame. So let's register that. That is a register UDF. So this is just a comment in order to specify you what I'm doing in the next step. Then I'm writing that sentiment user data frame that I'm registering with this UDF. Then I'm passing the same function name. What function I'm registering, that function name I'm choosing and pasting that here. And what response I'm getting, it's a string type response, right? Yes. So that also you need to specify. It's a string type response. So in order to tell it's a string type, we need to import this data type as well. So where this data type is present, sir? This is also present in Spark SQL. From spark.sql dot types, I'm importing this particular type, that is a string type I'm importing. And now I'm registering what are the function that I want to register, that is this sentiment analysis function in this user data frame. Then I can able to now use this to apply to my available data frames. What are the available data frames I have? I have this result data frame. This is the available data frame I have. Now I can able to apply that to here. So let's do that in next step. This for registering my data frame. What I'm getting error, Spark is not defined. Oh, actually it's a PySpark, not normal Spark. So just provide the correct names. Yeah. Now this function got registered into this user data frame. Now I can able to use it. I can able to use it to apply this function or user data frame to available data frames. So what is my available data frame? That is this result.df. So to this, I want to apply this function and create a column. So for that, I'm using this with column to which column you want to apply. That also you need to tell. So actually, I want to apply to which column, to this feedback summary column I want to apply. So that's why I'm just copying that feedback column name, and here I'm providing so first I want to tell, so where I want to store the result, I want to store the result in one more column, that is a sentiment. Then I'm using this, that is sentiment UDF, user data frame, to apply the function to what, to this column. Which column? To this feedback summary column, to this feedback summary column of my result data frame itself, of my result data frame I'm applying to this column. So what does this sentence represents? That is we're adding a column with a name sentiment, and what is the result we are storing under this sentiment is we are passing the data present in this feedback summary to this sentiment data frame, user data frame, and whatever the result that we are getting, that we are storing under this column, under this new column. So at last we need to store this result under our data frame, right? So that's why I'm redefining this result data frame. What are the result that we are getting, that I'm storing in this, variable. And at last I want to see the result as well. So that's why I want to use a display function as well. Display of result underscore data frame. Now I'm just running it. So that what happens, whatever the function that we created, that is the sentiment analysis, and whatever the data frame that we created, by using that data frame, by using that function, each and every row present in this feedback summary, this result data frame under this feedback summary, that will be sent to this function, and you will get the response. And you can see, so you got the response related to each and every feedback, right? Yes. So based on the customer ID, you can able to see the sentiment of that customer, how they are feeling with your product, and you can even able to analyze the feedback summary as well. In this way, in real time, you can able to utilize this code, or you can say in this way you can able to utilize whatever the feedbacks provided by the customer and store that feedback under your catalog data frames. Then you can able to use this workspace of your Databricks and create a compute as well. Then you can able to analyze the sentiment of your customer as well as your customer feedback summary about your product simply, and you can able to plan appropriately further for your future developments of your app and increase the app revenue or your website revenue as well. So in this way you can able to use this Databricks in real time at company level in order to analyze multiple feedbacks of your customers and analyze the sentiment of your customers, and you can able to display that content like this, and you can able to download the result as well, and you can able to plan for your business improvement in future as well. This project is useful for data engineers as well as GenAI developers as well, because here we are analyzing our data by using available GenAI model, open source GenAI models like Hugging Face transformers. I hope this video is useful and you understood how to automate customer feedback summary and sentimental analysis with open source models. For that, here you just did like you installed the required dependencies. Then here you created the pipeline, or you can say summarizer you created from the open source model. Then you created a function to provide the summary of the response, or you can say what are the feedback provided to this function. For that feedback, you can able to get the summary from this function. Now here you are reading the file, whatever the file that you stored in this, and you here you're collecting the feedback, or you can say here you're summarizing the feedback that is coming from customers. Then you store the result in this step. Based on customer ID, you store the feedback summary. Then you again further analyze the sentiment of your customer based on the feedback, and you stored. So for analyzing the sentiment, you created this function. You tested that the sentiment analysis is working or not. Then you utilized that to create a data frame, and you created one more row of analyzing the sentiment, and you finally created the whole data frame as a result. I hope this video is useful. If you feel this video is useful, then please like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get the latest updates. Thanks for watching again. See you back in the next video with another interesting topic. Until then, bye bye guys.